Having a boat in Southern California is awesome. This is my new playground when I'm not underway. Hollywood Beach is a stone's throw away from my slip, and coming down here means I have a little floating apartment here in paradise. It's easy to forget your worries when you're here. But sometimes they have a way of finding you anyways. This is Rendezvous with the Ramey family. The girls and I are a throuple on board our Albert 30 Liberty Call. We're exploring the West Coast and all the Channel Islands. This is Chapter 1. We're dropping our hooks in all the cool spots as we save up every penny to move on board our forever boat. Welcome aboard. Sailing around in circles on my tiny little lake had driven me stir-crazy. When I took custody of Liberty Call, I couldn't help but to immediately shove off with the girls and go sail to a destination and finally see something new, no matter the weather, visibility, or a lack of wind. And even though it all worked out just fine, it also felt like I had skipped a few things and got straight into shoving off. I need to go back, and I need to make the boat my own still. Sort some things out, check on some things myself. So I'm down here at the marina for Liberty Call down here in Oxnard, and it's really sunny, it's really nice. The sun is warm, the breeze is nice and cool, and there's a steady wind, so the sailor in me really wants to like shove off and put the sails up and kind of day sail around, but I actually have stuff to do. Whenever there's a change of ownership or something, or somebody takes custody of something, there's a whole bunch of redundancies of procedures that needs to happen. The previous owner may have just had the bottom of the hull scraped and cleaned and kind of tidied up, but I don't know exactly when that happened, so I might just have it done right now. That way I know as the new owner that this is the date that it was done last. And the same thing goes for all the systems on board, the black water tank, the electrical, safety equipment. I want to check and go through literally everything because I'm on board, it's my responsibility, and I'm putting my loved ones on board. So it's not something I mess around with. I brought my buddy Jonathan down because he's an electrician, and the biggest thing that I'm doing right now is finishing a project that the previous owner Jeff had started, which was a way to empty the black water tank. Now once you're, I think, 7 or 10 miles offshore, you can actually just pump out your black water tank, and to do that he had started adding a pump with a macerator, so it would actually take the black water material in there. Let's call it for what it is. It's dookie. So it takes all the dookie and it puts it through a pump and chops the dookie up and turns it into dookie slushy and then pumps it out of a through hull. So I'm kind of finishing that whole setup with Jonathan. He's actually putting most of the legwork in on it right now. And then we're going through the electrical and taking anything that could be a safety issue and fixing it, because an electrical fire on a sailboat is a worst nightmare scenario. And it's weird that I'm down here doing that. It's kind of a coincidence that the weekend I'm down here looking over the electrical for safety issues, that a boat right here on the marina actually caught fire and burned, and everybody came out, man. All the first responders were here and they worked on it, and you should have seen it, man. Like, it got worse and worse and worse. The firefighters were literally on board in the cockpit just spraying it while they were sitting just right in the middle of it. It was kind of nuts to watch. So that's why it's important to go through your electrical, because you never know if that's going to happen to you. And if you don't go through your electrical and check, I mean, who's to say it won't happen to you?
I'm just gonna do a dedicated ground back to the best grounding place there is, the negative pole on the battery, because this ground goes back and forth, so the resistance is really high. Gonna skip out all that stuff and just do dedicated ground to this whole circuit panel, and it's gonna be a lot more, not only a lot more efficient on voltage and everything else, it should be a little more accurate as well, because it'll get quicker readings and all that crap. So
cool.
It's yeah, just going through one wire at a time, and then after that, this wiring block right here is basically a block where 2 wires connect with screws, which is unnecessary, and it's where it can get wet as well. So I want to go through in each pair of wires one by one, connect them together, solder them, heat shrink it, and then tape it to where it's a solid connection that's waterproof. So when water gets in there, because it will happen, you're not going to have a failure point.
Basically, the Cliff Notes version of this is we went through and looked at any point that was going to be a problem later on. So he's tallied them all up. The way the system was run wasn't so much dangerous. It was just that if you just gave it a minute, there's some things that were going to stop working, prone to breaking. So we removed 97 points of potential failure and made the system run overall more efficiently. So all good things. Took all weekend, but definitely all good things. Going over the electrical made me feel a lot better about the boat's chances of catching fire, and finishing off that project that Jeff had started with the black water pump was going to save me from finding a pump out station on the harbor sometime this week. Looks good. Works.
Fucking A, man.
I also want to tackle some other things before shoving off again, and so I brought my son down with me the next weekend. Hey, you let me know when we're getting close. Huh? How's it going in there?
Pretty good. Thing shoots out like a fire hose.
I want to go through the boat in its entirety and remove the things I don't want on board and replace them with my own stuff.
Under here. Ripping the V-berth apart. So I'm going to hand you some tools. You make it work. Okay, so this tools.
I want to put things in their new home, and since I enjoyed eating at Anchor with the girls last time we were out, I kind of want to install that table that had been removed.
So this is the stand that's going to go, basically the bottom of the table slides into here, and then it can rotate and kind of clip itself in there on these little notches. So this has got to go back on here, and so we need to get it mounted. So we just need to put the 4 bolts in here, put them through here, and just get this thing mounted. That way we can have a table in here when we want one, the way I want it, kind of make the boat mine a little bit. So that's going to be a thing. Okay, so this is going to go on like so. This way, that way, and that way, and then make sure this is level. The table is back where it's supposed to be. I'm not sure I like how much it moves. I think it should be way more secured than that. That's just something that's going to move around and wiggle the entire time you're underway. So I think this only really goes in there when you're not rolling or basically in a slip, or it's definitely going to have to get out of the way when you're underway. I'm wondering how I can fix that, but that might be a project for when I'm bored another day. Lots and lots of stuff to do all the time. Lots of stuff to do to make someone else's boat your boat eventually. It's just a series of never-ending processes and tasks and projects, and I honestly think that's why guys like boats, is because we need to do something all the time. At least I do, at least most men do. They need to tinker on something, improve something, have some project, have some reason to get up and make something better. So I mean, there's this whole other psychology to sailing that I think is particularly appealing to people like me. I want to go destination sail. I want to go coastal cruising. I want to develop my skills as a sailor, you know, and I think this is the right spot to do it. And I think this is the appropriate boat to do it on. But the whole other flip side to doing this full time is like, there's just a million little things like this that need to get worked on all the time. And I think men, or just males in general, have an inclination to be interested in things, and I think women have an inclination to be interested in people. So I think this is why this appeals to so many men. Just having a boat and being responsible for a boat. It's a never-ending series of projects.
The next morning, Logan and I woke up and got to work on the anchor chain. While I was anchored off of Santa Cruz Island, I had to basically guess how much chain I let out, which is not ideal. The correct way to anchor a boat relies on knowing how deep the water is and knowing how much anchor chain to let out. And I had no way of knowing how much anchor chain I was letting out, so I decided to paint the chain in 5-foot sections. My plan is to understand how much anchor chain I let out. I need to mark them with paint. So I'm just gonna color code it. And there's a color code that a lot of sailors use, and I'm not gonna use it, and I'm not gonna do it on purpose, because I'm OFP, which is military for my own fucking program. So I'm gonna just paint them red, white, and blue. So the first 5 feet will be red, the next 5 feet will be white, and the following 5 feet will be blue. And that pattern will just keep repeating, so you can just, as the colors go by you, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. You can just keep track of it like that. And I'm gonna protect Liberty Call because Mr. Perkins did an awesome job painting this, and it would be an absolute tragedy if I disrespect my own boat by not properly prepping for paint. It would also be kind of tragic since I used to paint professionally. So I understand that there's a lot of steps that I'm skipping, and I'm just throwing some rattle can on these chains that are gonna go straight into salt water. And you can just chew my ass about it in the comments all you want. I'm gonna do it anyway and just see how it turns out. And if I like this system, I'll make it more permanent by applying primer and all this kind of stuff to it. But honestly, it's just anchor chain. The anchor chain had been measured and marked in its new color code, so all I had to do now was put it back together, the right way, with all of its fail-safes attached so it doesn't come apart while I'm on the hook. The Blackwater tank had a mass-rating pump now that would allow me to empty it at sea.
It's open.
The boat had been cleaned out and reorganized to my liking. The electrical had been inspected and improved where it could be. And my adjustable dinette table was installed. And I found the fuel dock in my marina, which means I also topped off my fuel tanks. And when I got back, I met my slip neighbor Paul, a sailor and a fisherman.
Rockfish we got caught just a few miles from here earlier today. And my slip neighbor Paul, who's also a subscriber, hi Paul, threw me an extra catch for dinner tonight. So that was pretty cool. I'm just gonna debone and skin and kind of prep these with some butter and probably a little bit of garlic salt and pepper and lemon juice, and I'm gonna wrap them up in aluminum foil and cook it on the propane grill outside because you don't want to cook fish inside the boat. Put that on there. So we'll kind of prep these, and then that'll be dinner. Save us from going out.
The boat seemed to be in good working order. Things were stowed and secured the way I like, and I spent the rest of my weekend on board catching up with my son. All in all, not a bad time.